When Lionel Messi moved to Inter Miami, the sports world largely agreed on the narrative. His time at the top was over. Pundits framed it as a retirement tour, assuming a 38-year-old could never match the physical intensity required for the 2026 World Cup. Then the tournament began, and the narrative collapsed. In his first 2 games, he produced an offensive explosion of 5 goals. This chart tracks the highest career scoring totals in the history of the tournament. By reaching 18 tournament goals, Messi didn't just break the record, he moved into a statistical tier that had never existed for any other player. The events of June 22, 2026, moved the conversation into new territory. This performance forced a total reevaluation of his legacy, making it necessary to look back at the improbable physical deficit he had to overcome to even reach the pitch. To understand the scale of this achievement, we have to look back at Rosario, Argentina in 1997. At 10 years old, Messi was diagnosed with a severe growth hormone deficiency, a condition that threatened to stunt his physical development and end his career before it began. The medical treatment required to fix the deficiency cost over $1,000 a month. His local club refused to pay, and his family was left with no clear way to fund his future in the sport. FC Barcelona's sporting director, Carlos Rexach, recognized the boy's potential, but faced a ticking clock. During a hurried lunch meeting, he was so desperate to secure the 13-year-old that he scrawled an initial contract on a nearby paper napkin. That napkin was sold at an auction recently for nearly $1 million, a price tag that reflects its status as one of the most important documents in sports history. The most successful career in the history of the sport began with a medical gamble on a child who, without intervention, would never have been tall enough to compete at the professional level. Once his body finally caught up to his footballing intelligence, his era at Barcelona produced numbers that seemed to defy the internal logic of the sport. This chart establishes the world-class standard for a striker in Europe. 30 to 40 goals a season is the peak. But in 2012, Messi scored 91 goals in a single calendar year, replacing a 40-year-old world record with a number that broke statistical models. Beyond the scoring, he also became the game's premier creator, accumulating over 410 senior career assists and a record 8 Ballon d'Or awards. These combined metrics prove he was operating as the world's most effective finisher and its most creative playmaker at the exact same time. Despite his dominance at the club level, his career with the Argentine national team felt cursed. For over a decade, he carried a painful weight every time he played for his country. The trouble began in 2005 during his senior debut, where he was sent off just 47 seconds after entering the game. That debut set a tone for years of international heartbreak, including 3 consecutive losses in major tournament finals. By 2016, the pressure and criticism from his own fans became so intense that he briefly walked away from the sport entirely, publicly announcing his retirement from international play. At that time, this lack of a major international trophy was the only piece of evidence left for anyone trying to argue against his status as the greatest of all time. That argument began to dissolve in 2022. The redemption was finally completed in Qatar, where he led his country to a World Cup title. His resilience was tested again in 2026. After missing an early penalty against Austria, he ignored the immediate wave of online criticism and responded by scoring 2 historic goals. Those goals moved him past the long-standing record held by Miroslav Klose and Brazil's Marta, making him the undisputed all-time leading scorer in World Cup history. This celebration in front of the 2026 crowd represented the final piece of the puzzle. To maintain this level of dominance at 38 years old settles the debate. He has achieved every possible milestone, even those that seemed physically impossible for a player at his age. We are no longer watching a standard professional athlete. We are witnessing the final chapters of a 20-year career that has operated outside the normal rules of human decline. There is no longer a need to debate his rank, only a need to appreciate an anomaly that we may never see replicated.